Detroit Police Department's use of controversial facial recognition technology to identify suspects, Michigan Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib made national headlines by suggesting only African-American analysts should run the software because, in her words, non-African Americans think African Americans all look the same. But Chief James Craig says there's a process in place that prevents abuse and misidentification. What do we think about that?
So here's the issue. I mean, you can be on Facebook and they can get your facial recognition wrong. Right. And so now we're talking about things that can actually deter you or send you to prison or jail.
Right.
I don't think we're at a place where that system is actually working, and I think it's going to be even more damaging to African Americans.
Let's not admit the system that was bought by the city of Detroit is the one that does not work. I've seen facial recognition from a client that I represented about 10 years ago. Facial recognition works. He had an outstanding warrant. He decided to go to the Super Bowl where they use the stuff that really does work. And while he's walking down the street, the computer did all of his facial, and the cops went right over and said, "Your name is, you've got a warrant. Come go with us."
They took him out of the Super Bowl?
How reliable is that technology, Karen?
So the question
the technology is enough to say, if you've got an outstanding warrant, or if they've got a face of the person that did a shooting on 7 Mile, and that person happens to be at a gas station over on Gratiot, and the computer will be able to say, we've got a 50 or 60% confidence in this is who the person is. They're going to send a car over, and the car is going to go check that person out.
So this is Minority Report all over again. The question that she's raising, though, is about the human input, right? The analysts who decide this is a match for that person. And, you know, white people, you know, look.
Think we all look alike?
Now, to be fair, sometimes I have a hard time.
A lot of them look alike as well.
To be fair, I have a hard time distinguishing white faces sometimes too. But that is it's a cultural bias that everybody has. Yeah. So I think she's right to raise the issue. I don't know, you know, can you say that only black people are going to run the software? That seems maybe extreme and probably against federal law.
I think until the software is perfected, we probably shouldn't even have it. Yeah. So, I really agree with the activists who say we're not there yet. Right. And I don't know what the rush is. I think that, the way that technology is advancing these days, where there's a multiplier effect, and within months things are getting more and more exact. I don't know why we have to go with technology that's not perfect.
There are two things on this. Yes, you can say after I finish.
Okay. Let's give Greg a chance.
Two things. One is that when she said that, she must have been looking around and seeing only white people, operating the system. And so raising the issue of whether or not black folks are included in this is a valid thing, particularly in light of the hiring practices of the Detroit Police Department, all the racial stuff that has gone on. And I'm sure that the chief is doing the best that he can. His desire to stand up for his officers, I think, should not trump the reality of racial biases on the part of people. It would be more responsible
about the racial biases.
To address that.
The computer's going to pick out points on your face, your eyebrows, and things like that. It still is up to a human being to go find that says,
and that's where the bias comes in.
Right, and that's
that person is the one that's supposed to go and say, are you this person? Come here, I need to talk to you.
Well, you just said the Super Bowl example. They didn't say, are you the person?
That they can distinguish among black people as well as black people?
They're going to have a person go see that person.
That seems unlikely.
Somebody's going to check them out.
I need you guys.
Just from my experience as a 50-year-old black woman in America.
The rush is, if we don't,
get out of here.
When you ask,
I know I don't look.
We're both 50.
Listen. What's the rush? The rush is we don't have the number of officers on the street. We used to have 4 times as many officers as we have now. So there's got to be something to help. The technology is supposed to support the fact that you can't have that many eyes. Why not let the computer, since there's going to be a camera on every corner, why not let the computer look for those people that you're looking for?
I think if the system were perfect already, right?
Well, why not have?
Nothing's ever going to be perfect.
If we didn't have bias in the system.
Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but why not at least? The truth of the matter is there are going to be some victories that you're going to find out about somebody who was wanted and that person got picked up. What would be the
objection to having someone of that racial or ethnic group being the person who's determining whether those there's a match.
You
there.
can't
Because that
put
means the
in
white guy
I know you
doesn't get a
can't put it in
job.
policy.
You can't put it in
That's
policy,
why.
but what you're saying is you don't trust the chief and his command staff in order to be able to figure out how to staff their department. That's his job as chief, and that's why he has hired
What
a
about the
lot
next
of
chief?
African American women that have been promoted like crazy. Let's trust them to at least try to get to
Yeah,
that
but
point.
the-
If it picks out the
Counselor, take a
wrong
break.
person,
How many
if it
qualified-
picks
how
out the
many
wrong
qualified
person,
Hold on
we'll
here.
find
There-
out
there-
later.
able to work those
There was
jobs.
you folks might
Yeah.
remember the situation where the brother in Grosse Pointe got raided by the SWAT team because it was all over TV. This picture of a tall brother robbing a bank, right? Well, walking in the door saying he robbed the bank.
Right.
You know, we all looked at that picture and we were like, you know, white folks was like, oh, that looks like him. And we were all like, hey, they got the wrong guy. You know, and to this day, that was like a couple years ago.
Right.
Even though they arrested him and then let him go, they still have not cleared him of it. So he's got this thing hanging out over his head. And that was a picture that we were all looking at. So,
Sketch art.
you know,
That's it.
I think that
Unless you're
we got
going
to be
start to pay a
careful
lot
with
more
that.
taxes and allow them to hire 4 times as many officers, you're going to have to come
Yeah,
up with
I don't
some
know
sort of
that
way.
what
That doesn't
Detroit
make it right.
support.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't know
see
the
that.
choices
Aren't you a
between.
defense attorney?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't want him.
Seems like the choice has
The
to
guy
be.
that opposes government.
The choice has to be about something better than nothing or bias, right? I mean,
Right.
the idea that there's
The
no
choice
question we don't
is-
have enough
The
officers.
choice is
but,
we've got to at least decide to do something to support the officers that are out there and to try and find the criminals, because the same people are the ones who keep committing the same crimes in the community over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I
So
think- I think
my
we
solution to
trust the
this
police.
is I'm just going to wear a ski mask everywhere. You can't identify
But you'll
me
have
from
glasses
nobody. I'll be like, that's Steven.
Actually, Stephen, in certain European countries, they do have masks, facial recognition masks
oh, really?
that you can put over.
See?
So hey,
Now I get
maybe
going.
that's your solution.
Let's bring them to Detroit.
Well,
All
Well,
right.
you know,
Finally.
eyebrows done, man.
There you go. There you go.
Have a point.
Fake